Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on the Creative Climate Leadership Program. I would like to start by acknowledging that I'm joining today from the unceded lands of the Walabadigal clan of the Darug Nation and pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to all First Nations people who are joining us online today. I'd also like to acknowledge the many Aboriginal lands across the country that you are all joining us from as well. My name is Sally Piper. I'm a woman in my 40s with mid-length brown hair and a black and white striped top and black jacket. I'm the Artform Development Officer at the Australia Council, working directly with the heads of practice, and I'm the main point of contact for interested applicants for the Creative Climate Leadership Program. The purpose of this information session is to provide information and background on the Creative Climate Leadership Program, introduce the team who'll be leading the development and facilitation of the program, and allow some time for questions as well. This is quite informal, so please ask questions throughout the session using the Q&A feature, and there will be time to answer these questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to all the questions, and I suspect we may not because I know there's a lot of people online, you can send us an email directly. We're sharing the relevant email address in the chat now. This session is being recorded and will be available on the program website next week as well. Today we're joined by Auslan interpreters Stephen McPherson and Dana Caruana. You can pin the interpreters to your Zoom screen by pressing the three dots in the right-hand corner of their video screen and selecting pin. Live captioning is also being provided by Lara Penrose and is available by clicking on the captions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. The Creative Climate Leadership Program, which will be held from the 11th to the 16th of September in Bundanon, New South Wales, is a partnership between the Australia Council for the Arts, which soon will be Creative Australia, and Julie's Bicycle, an internationally renowned UK not-for-profit that has so far designed and delivered the program to more than 250 participants from over 26 countries. This Creative Climate Leadership Program is supported by the British Council. And I'll hand over now to my colleagues Mikala and Adam, who will introduce themselves.
You first, Mikala.
Sorry, everyone, my Zoom just died. I'm Mikala Tai. I'm the head of visual arts at the Australia Council. I'm joining the call today from Ngunnawal, Ngambri country, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I am here looking slightly frazzled in a fluoro top after making my technology work again. But I'm really delighted to be here with everybody today. Adam.
Hi, everyone. My name's Adam McGowan. I'm the Director of Industry Initiatives here at Australia Council for the Arts, joining from Gadigal lands this afternoon. I'm a white cis male in my 40s. I have short brown hair. I'm wearing dark-rimmed glasses. I have a collared shirt on, and behind me is a white wall and a small artwork. And my pronouns are he, him. Thank you.
So Australia Council recognises the need for the industry to have the skills to support climate action. And like many of you, the Australia Council is on a journey to become more sustainable. We are auditing and assessing our current business operations to ensure that our decision-making processes consider our environmental impact. We know that artists and individuals within the creative industries are playing a significant role in championing positive and transformative climate action. These champions are impassioned individuals who are advocating for sustainable ways to change how they and their organisations work. Council wishes to acknowledge that there are many in the sector that have been forging ways to become sustainable for a long, long time, and we've been very lucky to consult with many of you as we've begun to undertake our own work here.
We are delighted to be able to further empower and connect industry champions through this 5-day program of learning and peer-to-peer exchange that will galvanise a global network to scale up cultural leadership on climate action and justice. This activity aligns with our corporate plan, and as an initiative, it supports the sector to explore and communicate new models and ways of working. Through this program, participants will emerge with a toolbox of practical solutions for transformative action, including approaches to action and collaboration that are equitable and inclusive, methods for designing solutions to complex problems, and strategies for rethinking and reorientating the cultural ecosystem towards a thriving future that prioritizes the well-being of people and nature. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the team from Julie's Bicycle and our co-facilitator for this program, Ruth Langford. First, it's my delight to introduce Songwoman and storyteller Ruth Langford, who will be the co-facilitator with us in Bundanon. She has a diverse background in cultural arts, as well as environmental, social justice and youth work, and expertise in Indigenous medicines therapy. Ruth is an expert facilitator and coordinator of capacity building programs, which have as their guiding principles connection to country, culture, the self, and the sacred. Ruth has joined us to collaborate on the design of this Australian iteration of the CCL program, and will act, as I mentioned, as co-facilitator with the team from Julie's Bicycle. Thanks so much, Ruth.
Oh. Ruth, you're just on mute at the moment. Could you just unmute yourself, please? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Adam, for those very kind words, and for Sally for your acknowledgement of country. Ya Minati Prathana Narimyada. I'm a Yorta woman, and I also have cultural responsibilities as a member of the Tasmanian Aboriginal community where I was born and continue to live and have reared up my children. And I am extremely passionate about this particular program, as well as how that we can support all that re-establishing of right relationship. And so I'm very grateful to the Australia Council for inviting me to come along. To all your mob out there, I'm hoping that we have a strong representation in the applications for First Nations people. And what I'm hoping to be able to share with you during our time out at Bundanon is that the practices, knowledges, and ways of being of First Nations from across the globe, particularly also my family lineage and the lineages that have shared with me, how we can access that not only source of inspiration and wisdom of country, but how we also taking care of ourselves to play the real long game. Aboriginal people, we have something to gift in the generosity of those knowledges that we believe are how do we align ourselves so that the country itself, the land, the sea, the sky country is informing us of how we can act to help guide us through this climate change crisis. So thank you very much. I look forward to yarning a bit more with everybody. And also at the end of the session, I'll also put in my email if there's any First Nations people who particularly want some support in the application process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ruth. It's now my pleasure to introduce the team from Julie's Bicycle. We have with us today Chiara Badiali, the music lead at Julie's Bicycle, and Thiago Jesus, who is the CCL Program Manager. Just to recap, for those of you who might be unfamiliar with Julie's Bicycle, it's a pioneering not-for-profit mobilising the arts and culture to take action on the climate and ecological crisis. Julie's Bicycle supports the arts and culture to become net zero carbon and restore nature, to inspire public action on climate and the ecology, and champion environmental justice and fairness. Thanks so much, Chiara, and Thiago, we'll hand over to you now.
Brilliant. Thank you for the introduction, Adam, and thanks also, Ruth, for that initial introduction to some of the programme. So my name is Chiara, my pronouns are she, her. I'm a woman in my 30s and short, slightly messy blonde hair. I'm currently hanging out with a houseplant and a watercolor drawing. So as Adam said, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Julie's Bicycle, we were founded by the UK music industry in 2007, but now working across the arts and culture, both in the UK and with partners internationally. And at the heart of all our work is this real recognition that the climate challenge is a cultural challenge. And that's why we're here today. To build that consensus for rapid action, we need that shift in cultural attitudes, narratives, practices, the way that we work and relate to each other and the more than human. But in spite of all of that potential, we also know that the culture community has too often been considered peripheral to the global challenge of climate change. And in turn, too often, especially in the Western world, we've left out the intersecting climate, nature, and justice crises from our own narratives about the purpose and values of culture and the arts and what we're here to do. So we really want to embrace that this space of kind of remaking and exploring relationship building and transformation that orients towards this intersection of nature, climate, and justice is the most essential, vibrant, and in many ways, the only space to be for us as a creative community working today. So what we try to do as JB is drive change from within the arts. So we embody a different practice, that deep understanding of these interlocking crises, working on a whole systems approach, really looking at the arts and culture itself as a system as well, working at every level of that ecosystem, from the individual freelancers, artists, people making the work happen on the ground, to the grassroots groups and networks, to the bigger organizations and institutions, and also our cultural policy and funding frameworks. So really making those links quite literally from changing light bulbs and changing energy systems to the values and stories we tell, and what our spaces and ways of working really manifest in the world. And so we try to work through that as our team as well, combining that cultural and environmental expertise, really embodying this idea of by the creative community, with the creative community, and for the creative community on driving climate action. And so creative climate leadership is one of our core programs, working to empower artists and cultural professionals to take action on the climate and ecological crisis with impact, creativity, and resilience. And the roots of the program are really that over the 15 years that we've been working, we've had this immense privilege of working with change makers every day across different parts of the creative sector. And we could see and really feel this emergent creative climate movement. But a lot of the people we met doing that work on the ground often didn't feel it themselves. There was this real sense of a lack of connection, sometimes exhaustion of, being the person who's pushing for change. And a hesitancy actually to embrace themselves as the leaders we knew they were, especially considering that leadership itself is such a highly contested term. And at the same time, actually, and luckily this is changing, but when we first sort of started exploring the idea of creative climate leadership, there was also a really conspicuous lack of climate and environment in these sort of the more traditional leadership development courses in the arts and culture. So we wanted to make this movement feel more real and create that space and give it a name. And that's where creative climate leadership came from. Bringing together you as these agents of transformation and giving that recognition to the brilliant people who are making change happen, connecting you to learn from each other and start new collaborations. Together, figuring out how we kind of work both in a broken system and change it and embrace that complexity of the moment that we're in, and cultivating together what we think creative climate leadership might look like. So the program brings together 24 participants. We really look for interdisciplinarity, so bringing together lots of art forms and also a spread of roles, again, from people who work in policy and funding, but also artists, institutional representatives, again, people at all career stages. So we have the whole cultural ecosystem kind of represented in the group as well. So as said, we now have around 250 alumni who are working in over 30 countries around the world. And we always deliver creative climate leadership in partnership. And so we're really delighted to bring it to Australia with the Australia Council and Ruth as well.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thiago Jesus. I am a project manager at Julie's Bicycle. I am a Latino man in my late 30s. I have black hair. and I'm wearing glasses and a light orange jumper. And I am delighted to be part of this session, and I'm really looking forward to be coming to Australia for the first time. I'm really looking forward to working with the Australia Council for the Arts and with Ruth Langford too. And as Sally said in the beginning, the CCL Australia will be held at Bundanon, which is the most incredible art museum and wildlife sanctuary in New South Wales, from Monday the 11th to Saturday the 16th of September. And adding to what Chiara said, the CCL program is an opportunity for 24 participants, artists, creative and cultural professionals based in and or working in Australia. And we encourage creatives and leaders that want to challenge the status quo and the conventional ways of thinking to apply for this 5-day program. The program will include workshops, discussions, talks, and all participants will be asked to contribute with a session and share their experience with the group. The format of these sessions is very open, but the peer learning element is a very important part of the curricula. And in this 5 days together, we will look at the big picture of the climate crisis, the science, the policy, climate justice. We will explore the role of culture and creativity in responding to climate change and to environmental issues, the cultural and social dimensions of the challenge, and understanding ourselves in relation to systems and systems change. We will also talk about change management, the practical ways of making change happen through case studies, research, methodological approaches, advocacy, communication, collaborative ways of working together to maximize impact in society and in policy. And finally, we want to inspire actions that will exist beyond the program. And as my colleague Chiara previously mentioned, the participants will be part of and supported by a growing alumni network of around 250 people from over 30 countries. And I will briefly talk about our team of facilitators on the ground, which will include Ruth Langford. We are so honored to have her with us. Myself, Thiago. I am a creative producer and a researcher. I am the CCL Program Manager at Julius Bicycle, and I am the head of Indigenous Exchange and Climate Action at People's Policy Projects, an arts research center at Queen Mary University of London. And for over a decade, I work at this intersection of arts, research and activism. And since 2014, I work with indigenous communities from the Xingu territory in the Brazilian Amazon forest, leading a creative exchange program for the preservation of cultural practices in this region, which is the most affected by deforestation, agribusiness, and criminal fires. We will be joined by my colleague, Farah Ahmed. She is the climate justice lead at Julius Bicycle, and Farah leads our creative climate justice program, developing resources, training, and advocacy, and connecting environmental, racial, social justice with creative activism. And last but not least, Alison Tikel, who is our CEO and founder of Julius Bicycle. Alison trained as a cellist. She established the National Skills Academy. She has been on many advisory boards and awarding bodies, including the Observo Ethical Awards, RCA Sustainable Design Awards, Live Music and Sounds Connection, Energy Revolution, and the Climate Heritage Network. She is a lifelong Ashoka Fellow, and earlier this year she was appointed as a member of the Creative Industries Council to represent climate action in the cultural sector. And I will pass to Chiara again.
Brilliant, thanks, Thiago. So I think as Sally, Adam, and everyone said already, the program overall is aimed at creative climate activists and people working to make change from different areas of cultural practice. And we recruit generally 24 people, sort of bringing together that rich range of different ways of working, of different roles, and hoping to pull together a group that is overall intergenerational, that sort of builds the strength of the group, and to learn from each other as well. And that also have that commitment to climate action, a commitment to justice, to creativity, to bring people together in common cause. So participants are eligible working in any art form, but you have to be available to travel to Bundanon to attend the programme in full and in person from the 11th to the 16th of September this year. You won't need to do any work prior to attending the course, but we are looking for people who want to really actively participate and be part of this community. And as part of that, we will also give everyone who's coming space to share in some way your skills, knowledge, experience, something that you want to contribute to the group and to the other participants. And I will hand over to Sally now.
Thank you so much, Chiara and Thiago. With your help, we might go into the application and assessment process in a little bit more detail now. The applications are now open and you need to apply via Flux, which is the Australia Council's application management system. The deadline for applications is the 6th of June at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Chiara and Thiago, I'll go through now each of the application questions if you don't mind, and if you wouldn't mind commenting on what the assessors will be looking for in responses from the applicants. So first up, a fairly straightforward one, which is tell us about yourself and why you want to participate in this program, which has two parts, including the applicant's biography and then what made the applicant want to apply for the program and what they would like to get out of it. If you would like to comment on that first question.
I think that one's quite straightforward, and it's really your chance to tell us a little bit about you and give us a sense of who you are, again, what you do, and crucially, what makes you interested in being part of this community. And that means we can get to know everyone a little bit before we actually all arrive together at Bundanon. And we tend to also use some of that information to shape and reshape the programme a little bit so that we can make sure that we're really responding to the group and working with you together.
Great, thank you. So next up is, what does creative climate leadership mean to the applicant?
In this question, we want to know what the meaning of these three words are. You know, the meaning is to you. We are expecting the applicants to provide a deep and nuanced reflection on what creative climate leadership means. What do you think this type of leadership in the creative and cultural sector seeks to promote? What does it require? Why does it matter? And so it's an opportunity for the candidates to articulate their own understanding of the complexities involved in addressing climate change through creativity and culture. And this is also where we are looking for people to talk a little bit about their own experiences and viewpoints that they are bringing to the group.
Great, thank you. So next is, tell us more about your engagement with environmental, climate, social and justice issues. And this has two parts. How have you engaged with environmental themes or issues in your work to date? And describe what climate justice means to you and how your work addresses social justice, equity and/or inclusion.
Thanks, Sally. And I think first off, we're not necessarily looking for people who are experts in absolutely everything. Again, this is what we are hoping to do, is really bring together a really vibrant group of people. And this is kind of your opportunity to explore and tell us how you're making connections from your work into some of these bigger contexts, environmental and climate or social. And within that, again, you don't need to be 100% expert in absolutely all the spaces, but it really is about how you're making those connections and making those visible in some way. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Next up, and I think this might be going to you, Thiago. Share an example of when and how you have made an impact through your work. What happened and what did you learn? What are you looking for there in an answer?
Thank you, Sally. Here we want to see the real examples of impact that the applicants have made through their work, demonstrating the potential and the capacity to influence people and events. So I think here we want people to bring the real evidence of action, of influence, and of leadership in their answers. And we want to know the applicant's ability and capacity of taking action and leading change.
Great, thank you. The next question is, tell us about an idea you are either starting to develop or have already developed and would like to improve that connects culture and the environment, including what impact you'd like to achieve, who it's aimed at, a timeline, what challenges you're currently facing or anticipating, and how you hope that the Creative Climate Leadership Program will support you to make it happen. What are the assessors looking for there, Chiara?
Partly, again, slightly selfishly, building up an idea of what people want to work on and therefore how we can best support that. But also, I think within that, just getting a sense of also where your ideas are around this work and kind of what you think is important in the context of creative climate leadership. And it could look like anything at all. You know, you might be thinking about a campaign, you might be thinking about making artworks or exploring something new through your creative work, working on a new collaboration, designing something new, changing the way your organization is working. But really it's starting to see what kinds of seeds we are all looking to plant together, and that sort of initial thinking about how that intention might link into action, again, what we're trying to manifest and bring into this world. And also within that, something really that this idea of how you're hoping that the CCL program is going to support you to make it happen, and what you're hoping to learn from that and take away from it, and potentially also bring, not potentially, but also bring to it in your own way.
If I may, I'm hoping people, as they're listening, they get a sense of the depth of the capacity and the invitation. But I'm hoping people can also sit within their own passions, that what we are really looking as the invitation is for people who are at that point in their life where they're ready to receive the support so that they can then expand. And so instead of thinking about, is my project big enough? Do I have enough impact? There is no hierarchy of experience. This is a deep, wide, and very deep holding and invitation. I'm reminded that I was very successful. The Aboriginal community, we led a campaign for the care and protection of the boundaries of the World Heritage Area in Lutwyche, Tasmania. We went to the UN in Doha and we succeeded in protecting the forests from logging and mining. And I came home thinking, oh my God, this is where the climate impact is, UN, global, and I was all hyped up. This is what I was going to do. And then I came home and there was a small group of about 24 people who were committed to self-reflective practice in order to understand their own privilege and woundings and how attending to themselves, they were deeply committed so that therefore they can then overflow and be motivated as leaders, and their impact on their family, their community was enough. And it doesn't have to be this big, oh my God, you know, because even hearing this, they can get a sense of, yes, definitely, we want the big shebang, but we also recognize that it needs all of us. We're all going to have to be recognized. And I love the terminology about the ecology of community in order for us to support each other to move forward. So whatever you've got, put it down, send it through. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, Ruth. I think maybe now as well, because I was going to come to this in the Q&A, but Chiara, it might be, given what Ruth just said, might be a good point for you to talk about how you see leadership, or how the assessors will view leadership, and who should apply, and sort of how you define that in this context.
I mean, partly I don't want to define it for the group that's going to come together, because part of the idea is that together, while we are at Bundanon, we will cultivate this idea of what creative climate leadership can and needs to look like, particularly in an Australian context. But I think we know from running this program, we think about renaming it at least once every 6 months, because leadership as a term is so loaded. And I think what we don't want is people to feel like it's not for you because you're not in a senior position, or again, you don't have, you know, a massive career profile. Really, when we talk about leadership, we're looking for people who are pushing to make that transformative change in that part of the creative community that you are working with, and the communities that you are working for. And that can take lots and lots of different shapes. Yeah, so again, hence that question of what does creative climate leadership mean to you? Because we're not putting out a definition of leadership in there, a traditional one.
Thanks, Chiara, and thanks, Ruth. Just coming back to the questions, we'll finish off, just come to the very last question, which I know is an important part of the program. Participants are expected to contribute a session to the rest of the group. And this can be as creative or practical or as open as the participant likes. Examples include arts or craft workshops, yoga or meditation, hosting a conversation on a theme that is close to your heart, sharing a personal story, an action planning workshop, a challenge you're grappling with, or a performance. And the question is that what would be a session that the applicant would like to contribute? Chiara or Thiago, would one of you like to address that question as well?
I can take that one, Sally. I think that this is an essential part of the program. Is about the co-creation element of it. So we will co-create the curricula together with all the participants. So we are asking the candidates to contribute with a session and share their own skills and knowledge with the group. And as the question says, it can be a workshop, a yoga session, a conversation, whatever you want to bring. And at the last editions, we had just few examples of film screenings, acro yoga, a session on storytelling, manifesto making. We discussed extended reality, deep listening, fair work in the arts, climate and disability, and so on. So be whatever you want to bring and you think it's important to share for us to build together in the group. That is the place. And I think what the only thing that we ask is for the sessions to be kept between 30 minutes to a maximum of an hour, and we will be able to provide whatever you need. So we'll be able to provide audio, screens, flip chart, paper, pens, post-it notes, whatever it's necessary. If you have any specific requirements, just write it down in your application, and we will make sure that we will have it all there.
Great, thanks, Thiago. I'll just move on to some sort of practicalities of the application and assessment process now. Can I also just remind everyone you're welcome to add any questions into the Q&A section. It's along the bottom of your Zoom screen. Any questions at all, you're welcome to add those into that Q&A, and we'll address those at the end of the session. So it is possible to submit a video application if you prefer. You'll need to record a video of a maximum of 5 minutes addressing the questions that are in the application form. If you need any further information on how to submit a video application, or if you would like to discuss submitting an application in any other format, you're very welcome to email me at hopadmin@australiacouncil.gov.au, and that address will be in the chat as well. There is also an optional question for those who are seeking to apply for a stipend to support costs. The Australia Council will pay a stipend to successful applicants who are self-employed and or freelancers and need support to cover costs such as interstate travel, course participation, and any other expenses. We suggest applicants include a breakdown of the costs you anticipate needing to cover when answering this question in the application. All other successful applicants will need to cover travel to and from Sydney. A bus transfer between Sydney and Bundanon return will be arranged by the Australia Council. Chiara and Thiago have addressed some of this in their answers previously, or in the discussion previously, but the selection criteria the panel will be using to assess the applications is nuanced understanding and reflection on what creative climate leadership means, engagement with and awareness of climate change, environmental and social justice themes, issues and connections in your work to date, ability and capacity to take action and lead change, and demonstrated ability and willingness to work collaboratively and contribute to a group. The assessment panel will be made up of a combination of assessors from the Australia Council, Julie's Bicycle and other industry advisors. Applicants will be notified of the outcome of their application approximately 4 weeks after the closing date, so in early July. The closing date is the 6th of June, as I mentioned earlier, at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And we would really suggest you register in our online application system ahead of time. There's a 2-day processing time for new registrations, so don't leave it to the last minute and miss out. That would be very unfortunate. So we're now at the Q&A section. As I said, please add any questions you have into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Adam and Mikala, I don't know if would you like to turn your cameras back on, and if you've had a chance to have a look at anything that's come through in the last few minutes?
There is a question here about whether people can apply as a duo. That's a very good question. We don't actually have any clear answer for that one, but I think if you email that through to that email that Sally's just popped into the chat, we can actually discuss what that means and how that would actually work, to actually sort of sort through if it would still be impactful in that way and whether we can actually logistically manage that as well. So feel free to email through those specifics and we can respond.
Thanks, Mikala. I can see there's a question about whether this program has been run here before or if this is the first time in Australia, and this is the first time it has been run in Australia. Thiago or Chiara, do you want to mention maybe some of the recent programs where they have been as well? I think you've had a few the last few weeks.
Yeah, so the last one we were in Belgium. We had a second one in the UK as well, just earlier this year. Before that, we were in Canada in August 2021. And we had a couple online with Sweden and Scandinavia during the pandemic. And before that, we've been in the US, in Slovenia, and also in the UK as well. So hopping around, working in partnership wherever we can in different ways, and really excited to come to Australia.
Thanks, Chiara. Adam, there's a question about the stipend. I might throw that one to you if I may. Someone's saying, in terms of stipend eligibility, would a self-employed artist supported by a postgraduate scholarship be eligible?
Look, I would suggest yes in that instance, and probably include your proposal of the specific kind of costs that you might need support with. We will need to kind of assess during that assessment process the requests for stipends, and make some determinations based on the volume of applications that might be successful from independent or self-employed applicants.
Thanks, Adam. There's also a question which I love. It's about the carbon emissions from travelling to the workshop in person, and will it be possible to connect with other participants ahead of time to organise carpooling? I imagine that, I mean, it seems like a great idea. I imagine that is definitely something that we could work on beforehand and see what we can arrange. Yeah, in respect to that. There's also quite a few questions about this webinar and whether it will be available later, or whether a transcript or a recording will be available. There will be a recording put up on the website next week, and I will see, oh yes, I can see someone's actually replied about that from someone at the back end. It will be, the transcript will be online within a week, and you can get an edited fixed transcript as well.
Sally, I can just see too, there are some questions coming through in the webinar chat, just so that we can kind of keep everything in the one spot. If you can orientate down to the Q&A chat, which is just at the bottom of your screen there. But there is one question around the nature of ongoing commitment the CCL program is hoping for those who participate. We will have some more details about that into the future. Certainly, we are through our other leadership programs here at Australia Council. For those who aren't aware, we have current programs, the Arts Leaders and the Future Leaders, as well as a range of other leadership programs that we have run in the past. So you will join that alumni network, that broader alumni network of our leadership programs. As Chiara and Thiago mentioned as well, you join the wider CCL alumni network, and there will be some specific opportunities for participants beyond the program that we will be able to detail at a later date.
I can also see there's a question about whether if applying, if you could be too early in your career to apply, and I don't think that is really something that we're worried about at all. That means you've got a whole career which you can have impact. You could also be towards what you feel like established career or towards the end of your career. That's really not the concern. The idea is about people that have the passion to learn more and want to take back and agitate for change within whatever context they work. So please don't think about where you are in your career as being something that we are at all worried about in terms of eligibility.
Thanks, Mikala. And there's also a question about our thinking around intersectionality of disability and the criteria around capacity and ability to lead change. I know, Chiara, maybe would you like to respond to that? I know we're really keen for a diverse group to be at the program, and certainly for it to be open up and to people of all abilities, and as I say, to a diverse range of people. Are you able to maybe speak to that?
Yes, for sure. I can't find that question in written form, but I hope I'm understanding. I think as Ruth so beautifully put it, leadership comes in lots of many forms, and we're not everyone has something to contribute and a role to play within this. So when we are talking about impact, absolutely don't let that hold you back in terms of, don't let that hold you back. We also, at some point in the sort of the whole process, we do also ask people to share with us kind of specific accommodations that might help you in terms of participation in the program. And we definitely have some ground rules about how we shape the days in terms of ensuring, we have breaks built in that we keep to time so that people have an ability to kind of prepare themselves and plan around that schedule depending on what your specific needs are. So yeah, very happy to pick up on that conversation as well offline if there's more information that's needed on that, but I hope that answers the question as it's been written.
Great, thanks, Chiara.
My hope is actually that we are really encouraging people who may see themselves that in other areas have been separated or denied or have obstacles. This is a really invitational process that we're doing. And the people who are involved in the selection, they do have an understanding of the challenges that are faced from many different aspects of the creative community. So I'm hoping that you feel confident enough that people who are assessing your applications will be able to see the impact that you're translating. If you have any questions or you're a bit concerned, please, I really encourage you, reach out to one of us, have a talk about it, so that we can make sure that you're comfortable, that we understand what you're sharing with us.
Thanks, Ruth.
And I've just found the actual written question. So I think just picking up on that, again, that intersectionality is really important. And if anything, tell us about that also in some of those questions about what does creative climate leadership mean to you, because what you are bringing is also that lived experience of working at that intersection of disability and trying to make change. And within that, that's a voice that we absolutely want and need to have in the room with us. So yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Chiara. Someone's also asked about what costs, besides travel costs, what costs are involved. all costs are covered for successful applicants for accommodation for that period, 11th to 16th of September. And food is covered while at Bundanon as well. As I mentioned before, successful applicants need to pay for their own travel to Sydney, and the Australia Council will provide a bus from Sydney to Bundanon and from Bundanon back to Sydney at the end of the course as well. Are there any other questions? Sorry, I'm just sort of...
I can see a question about the timing in terms of it being at the same time as other events. And really sadly, we can't move the program. It was quite difficult to get any time frame at Bundanon that allowed us to do the days that we wanted. And also, unfortunately, any week that we choose or any day that we choose, there's about 15 million other things, important things happening in the sector. So hopefully some of our further climate programs that happen in the future will be at a time that suits those that can't do this one this time. But yeah, we apologise that we can't find a day when no one's doing art.
Thanks, Mikala. Someone's also asked about word limits for applications, and those are pretty clear in the application form. So as I mentioned, we would really strongly encourage you get set up in the Australia Council application system as soon as you can. If you're interested in applying, you can start a draft application. You don't have to do it all in one go. But yeah, we would really encourage you to get set up in the system if you're not already, to give yourself plenty of time to get that done. And the word limits are all pretty clear in the system. So I'm just having a quick look through what else is here. Are we open to submissions from people who have undertaken climate change study? I would say the answer to that is yes. If anyone else wants to put any points in for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And also picking up on the question before that, someone who's moving sectors and is now working a little bit more in transport and climate advocacy. I'm not sure where next. I think yeah, open to that as well. I think the one thing I would say is that a lot of the program is shaped and oriented also towards how arts and culture works. So having some intention to work within the arts and culture and creative community, that would be quite important. But in the past, we have, for example, also had people who worked within environmental or climate organizations, but that might have been responsible for commissioning artwork or building those collaborations in some way. So again, quite open, but I think if you could articulate how you're hoping to work on the creative side and make those links, that would be really helpful.
Thanks, Chiara. A few people have asked about travelling to Bundanon and whether they have to come to Sydney if they were successful. And no, I think we would work through that. Yeah, at the end of the application process and seeing who was in the group and yeah, the best way to manage that, I guess. We also have a question about how resolved ideas need to be for your contribution to the program and can they evolve. Ruth or Chiara again, who would like to answer that one?
Just from a practical point of view, they can absolutely evolve. I think in the past we had someone change their idea the morning of because they suddenly looked at what else was happening and went, actually, I want to change this completely. So yeah. But within that, I think we still ask for an initial idea of what you would like to bring, just because again, it helps us start shaping where things sit in the overall schedules. But yeah, totally happy to have that change over time.
Thanks, Chiara. There's a couple more, sorry. How many people will be selected? It will be a cohort of 24 people that will be selected. Sorry, they're just still coming in thick and fast.
There's a question there, but I think can see about workload and capacity and people managing what they've got going on in their lives and applying in that moment. And I think you have to be able to give yourself the space and time to not have a busy brain while you're part of this and to sort of submit to the process of of the program. So I would encourage you to really think about whether this is the right moment for you to be able to really get the most out of the program and be able to take away those learnings in amongst other things. If you feel like you've got too much going on, then maybe it's a time to sort of wait for what's next.
Thanks, Mikala. We might wrap it up there. Did anyone else have on the panel have anything else they would like to say before we close the webinar?
I do just want to attend to the final question in regards to the 3 care, what happens after. I think all of us have been on workshops where we come and we get the aha moments and then we go home and then crash. I am particularly passionate about this. How do we live our life with what we've been receiving and inspiring? And that's why I was delighted to be involved in this program, that there is a real commitment to understanding how is this impactful in our ongoing lives. We as the facilitation team will be working towards creating support for that. And my hope is that during our week together, that we collectively as the group are looking to ways to attend to that through care. So I really love whoever that was that asked that question, because it's certainly primacy within my mind. And I think all of us are on that same, because really what we are doing is we are creating intergenerational change. The life that we live is our life. And so this couple of 5 days, maybe one blip, but my hope is that we are creating friendships, networks, knowledge sources of inspiration that serve us and our people and this planet for the entirety of the generations to come.
Thanks so much, Ruth. I think that's a really good note to close on. We will go through all the questions that have been asked, and where there are some common threads, we will put them up on the website under the frequently asked questions section. As I mentioned before, the video of the webinar and the transcript will be available next week as well. For anyone who wants to rewatch, or if there's anyone who's not been able to join, it will be up on the website from next week. Thank you very much for joining us. If no one else wanted to say anything to close, I think we will end it there. Thank you very much, and thanks particularly to Chiara and Thiago and Ruth for joining us. Chiara and Thiago getting up very early in the UK. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.